Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this January 2nd, 2024 version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. Glad you're here with me today. Dodsy's not with me. He's not feeling well this morning, so it's just me flying solo. And here in a little bit, Pastor Jerad Upwall will be here with me talking about Neighbors Together. So I'm glad you're here with me. And we'll see how this goes. We will miss Kyle. Hope he's feeling a little bit better today. So, so this is going to be some of those. There's no sports show this morning because he's not here. But so what are you guys? I'm going to look at the comments here. I have my phone open. What are your New Year's resolutions? Kind of give me an idea of what it is you're thinking about. And I don't know if I'm a very big New Year's resolution guy or not, because I try and manage my own expectations, and I have had this, like everyone, you have the best intentions, you start out, and you within a couple of months you've kind of slid back and stuff. But maybe what are some of the things that you want to work on? I have some things that I'm working on, some goals that I'm trying to put in place, but we'll kind of have to see how that goes. So anyhow, well, let's take a look outside and see what the weather is like this morning. It was kind of frosty a little bit, and I don't know how cold it's got to be. There was frost on the windows, on the car windows, so it's got to be pretty close to freezing. Beautiful sunset this morning when I drove in from Island City. And let's take a look at the weather, Benny, and see what the forecast for today is. So up to 41 degrees tonight, down to 34. Looks like a little bit of rain. And then throughout tomorrow, snow showers maybe in the morning. Then Thursday, mostly cloudy. And then Friday, a few snow showers. And it looks like we might get a little bit of snow over Saturday and Sunday. So who knows? But looks like that maybe winter is coming. Boy, I tell you, on Christmas Day or on New Year's Day or over the weekend, it was like, I told Tanya, it was like, man, this is like spring weather. I mean, it was really pretty, but we missed the winter. So I have this feeling that winter will be coming at some point. So, So that's kind of where we are. We'll go to a commercial here, and we'll be right back with Pastor Jerad Upwall, who is one of the board members of the Neighbors Together. We're going to talk about the Neighbors Together organization and what it is they do. And Benny, at the very bottom of that list, I added a video that I want you to play during the break. There is an organization that I work with called Creating Memories for Disabled Children. And they have a camp up in Wallowa Lake. And we're going to show that video. It's just a minute and a half long, 2.5 minutes while Jerad comes up. So we'll be right back with Pastor Jerad Upwall talking to us about Neighbors Together.
Welcome to Creating Memories for Disabled Children at beautiful Wallowa Lake, Oregon. Over the years, we have offered families of children with disabilities a free vacation at our beautiful camp properties. These getaways are a respite for families who often deal with an increased amount of emotional stress, financial hardships, and isolation. At Creating Memories, these families are able to relax in the knowledge that their child is loved and that their efforts are seen. Since 2018, we have completed a cabin renovation every 2 years, continually increasing our capacity to serve. We have fully renovated 3 cabins to become fully accessible lodging for families, including full kitchens and wheelchair-accessible bathrooms. We now turn our focus to the lodge building at the Creating Memories camp. Our vision for the lodge includes gatherings, networking, education, connections, community, and fellowship. We want it to be a place for families to share their struggles and joys, their needs and their knowledge, their setbacks and their celebrations. We are creating memories for disabled children, and our mission is to do just that.
Alrighty, and we're back with Pastor Jerad Upwall from Mountain
Life Church.
Life Church, right out there by Walmart.
Yep.
Yeah, and kind of tucked in there.
Yeah, some people call us the Walmart Church.
Yeah. I don't, and I mean, I think the church was there before Walmart was there.
Yes, the
Was
church has
it?
been there since
Yeah.
1979.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, well, hey, thanks so much for being with me this morning. And
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Thanks for
if
having
you
me.
weren't here, then I'd be all alone in the studio.
Yeah.
So, well, cool. So I don't know. Tell me about yourself. Where you grew up at, and where you're from, and how you got here to LeGrand.
Yeah, I mean, originally I grew up in Utah, in Salt Lake City, Utah, and then part of my life, and the other part of my life was in Northern California, where I went to Bethany College and studied in theology and youth ministries, and I became a pastor, I guess, for 20 years now. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
It just clicks by.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just goes on by. So,
Now, where were you at before?
yeah,
Before here.
So my family and I have 5 kids, and we were in Arizona
Okay.
before that. Lord brought us to LeGrand as the new lead pastor for Mount Life Church 5 years ago.
Wow.
So yeah.
And so, then tell me how did the neighbors together? So because the neighbors together, their food pantry, is
Yeah.
that the right term?
Yeah.
Is housed at the facility of Mountain Life Church. And talk
Yeah.
to me about how that happened.
Yeah, so I mean, Neighbors Together has been around, of course, before I got here.
Right.
It's always been a partnership or co-op of probably about 13 churches of just reaching the needs of community members or people in need. And I believe how it got started, of course, because this is before I got here.
Yeah.
There was too many times where people were jumping church to church with certain needs of, they needed food
Right.
or like a hotel voucher, some place to stay, and so finally they've started this co-op of churches where, if they have somebody that comes by the church that's in need, that they can send them to Neighbors Together, which is, a nonprofit 501c3, and through that partnership they can get the, help that they need, depending what the need is, of course. So the food pantry, the food bank is part of that, and is actually, became which is now a food distribution site for Community Connections, your Oregon, food bank services and things that they serve in our county. And of course, with the closing of Salvation Army, we're now the only food distribution site in Island City and LeGrand.
Wow.
So, yeah. So how we came to be of moving it to our church, it was right at the end of 2019 where it needed a new location, and I said, man, just use our facility,
Yeah.
because as part of my, as a pastor, I just want to serve the community as best I can, and it isn't just our own little church on an island. We want to just use our facility for the community, and So I said, hey, told Neighbors Together, let's, if you're more welcome to move it here, and it's been there since right at the beginning of 2020.
Wow.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I've kind of become aware of. We did a video for Community Connections not too long ago for their food, how food was distributed.
Right.
And that was super interesting. I wasn't aware of that. And then also Tom Hansen is a guy who he does our web. He services our. Yeah. He's kind of our web guy, and he's the current president of Neighbors Together. Yep. And so then I've gotten connected with you guys too. And so and in fact we've worked on a video, and we're working on finishing a video for Neighbors Together. And Bennett, go ahead and roll a little bit of that video if you would. And it is this is kind of a, I'm not sure if this was a particular day. Is this how it is always? You guys set these tables up and people can come through? Is that kind of the normal routine?
Yeah, so a little different than most food banks where you go and just get a box of random food in a food box. We set tables up and create a marketplace and just have different types of food, various food, through the tables, and just allow people to go shopping like they do in a grocery store.
Right.
And to just get the food that they need or, for the week. So majority of the food comes in through Community Connections, of course, through their partnership with the different grocery stores in the area. And then there are, of course, Marketplace Foods, and Nature's Pantry that donate directly to us throughout the week, and then so that's the majority where the food comes from.
Yeah.
We're serving there's about 90, it's about between 75 or 90, depending what Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because this happens every Tuesday.
Okay.
Around 10 o'clock, of, like I said, 75 to 95 to 90 so people come through just the food bank itself on a Tuesday. So there's quite a bit of people there.
So later today then?
Yeah, later today at 10 o'clock. And of course we have volunteers that come around 9:30, and it takes about a good 15 to 20 volunteers to make it work right, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, so through the whole month of households that we serve in the community has been over 765 on an average per month. So
wow.
Yeah.
So and you started to mention that Neighbors Together actually does more than just the food distribution.
Yes.
Also, right?
Yep. Yeah, so Neighbors Together has a woodlot, which we serve people that are in need of firewood for the wintertime.
Yeah.
We do hotel vouchers that's run through the police department. It's mostly set up for those that are, that are stranded, maybe through a bad storm or just passing on through that just need some temporary housing. That's most of what it's for. And we also have a laundry voucher through Scrubs. I think it's called Scrubs.
Bubbles?
Well, it used to be the old Bubbles place.
Oh, okay.
I think it's called Scrubs Z or E, I can't remember. But that is actually a referral program now because we partnered with some of our social service agencies or Union County Emergency Services, just some of our areas where they, it's more referral based on those, those type of services when it comes to the hotel vouchers, the laundry, and then gas vouchers as well. So
there's the food you get from the different grocery stores and the food you get from Community Connections.
Yeah.
But people contribute, and they can contribute.
Yeah.
To help with all of these other things, right?
Yep, yeah, absolutely. So, and that's the nice thing about the partnership with our other churches, and hopefully we can get more partnerships with more churches in our area. But each church does support Neighbors Together at least monthly basis financially. But also we have other people have donated that financially have, from different areas.
Yeah.
Or community members, or because we're in a time, of course, after the COVID and all that.
Yeah.
Things changed a little bit where we actually have to pay for the food that we're not the food that's donated directly to us, but what we get through Community Connections. We're actually paying a small fee just to have that food.
Yeah.
We're talking at least over 1,000 pounds of food
Yeah.
a week,
So are you? So then you guys are helping pay for the delivery or some of the expense? Or
yeah,
what?
some of the expense I think is probably some of the overhead. Maybe
Yeah.
Community Connections
Yeah.
is due. So it's because they have that new warehouse
Right.
now, and so that's part of. So there are of course there are some grants, different things, but Neighbors Together is a little different because it's set up as a religious nonprofit 501c3, and so there's not a lot of grants or
Right.
different things you can get to
Yeah.
for this to particular nonprofit. But yeah, it's mostly just funded through community support, and your local churches. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, this is you've been at ministry a while.
Yeah.
You were in a very urban area before, right?
Yep.
In the city, yeah.
Yep.
So, the landscape is changed a great deal even over the last 5 years.
Absolutely. Yeah.
COVID compounded that,
Yeah.
the homelessness and the mental crisis, mentally ill crisis. That's not the word I'm looking for, but there's a lot going on
Right.
that are out there.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that has affected a lot of people the last 5
Yeah.
years, right? So,
Well, and there's a lot of need. I
Right.
mean, at the end of the day,
Right.
that's people need help, and so there are times that people are critical of the church, of like, hey,
yeah.
where are you at? What,
Yeah.
how why doesn't the faith community do more?
Yeah.
I mean, do you hear those things?
Oh, I absolutely. I think, of course, those type of questions people don't understand as much as what goes on with churches. Maybe
Right,
if they're
right.
not involved in a church or
Right.
things, but when when it comes to different services of people in need of food or or homelessness, the churches are always the first response.
Right.
Meaning that people are always going to a church first if
Right.
they have a need.
Right.
And so that's the whole idea of Neighbors Together. Instead of just somebody jumping church to church with that need,
Right.
why can't we have with Neighbors Together have one, where that need could be helped or fulfilled?
Yeah.
And it doesn't overwhelm that church or a pastor, or,
Right.
and so that's the whole idea around it. So,
Well, and I remember, I mean, I pastored for a number of years, and I remember the routine calls, and they were routine. I would
Right.
get routine, hey,
Yeah.
I'm having troubles making rent this month. Could
Yep.
you guys help, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And it was always difficult. It was difficult.
Very
I
difficult.
wanted to point them in direction, and that was different. I mean, I would say this, that the benefit of being a part of a church is to be a part of it. You're
Right.
a part of it. It's a family,
Right.
and if you're there and you're showing up on a regular basis, then people are aware of your needs. They know what's going on. The same way that, people experienced their families at Thanksgiving or at Christmas.
Yeah.
Pretty soon you start talking about if somebody has a need, and then families help each other out. Well, churches are in that same manner. They help.
Right.
They're able to most identify with the people that they are closest to.
Right.
And but it was always a struggle for me. I always wanted an organization like Neighbors Together.
Yeah. As pastors.
Because then it becomes a little bit, because there is there is a little bit of a vetting process that has to go. I mean, there's so much demand
Right.
that it's hard. I mean, there's just there are limited resources, and so then
Right.
there has to be some kind of a vetting
Yeah, and
process.
I think, you know, the one thing that I've noticed through Neighbors Together is that it's an easy way to build a bridge gap between the churches and other community partners.
Right.
You know, where it just isn't just, you know, the churches are on their own little island and some of our community partners are doing their thing, where we can bridge the gap to help those, you know, that are in need.
Yeah.
And to, you know, so we don't all feel overwhelmed with all the needs that we're facing right now, you know.
Yeah.
So
Give me an example of some of the community partners.
well,
that you've
like
been able to
through, you know, through DHS and our, you know, sheriffs and police and, you know, the Grand Police Department, Union County Emergency Services, you know, some of those, you know, just, you know, some of those, you know, of course, you know, through Community Connections too as well. But yeah, you know, where we can communicate, and because we do work a lot with social services, you know, and DHS and things too with some of our families, because we're, you know, there's calls that we get in, like, you know, we have this foster family, or we don't want to remove this child because they need food in the house, or, you know, different things like that, or firewood. So we'll, you know, we'll try to fulfill those needs, you know, through Neighbors Together. So
well, and what I see is that the communication between agencies, being able to talk,
and that's the most important part. Yeah,
right. Yeah. So it's the handoff.
Right.
You know what I mean? So then, so handing off someone that you're servicing from one agency to another and communicating about the needs of that person or the needs of that family and how best to serve them, you know, part of it is so then they don't have to tell their story over and over again, depending on what's going on, you know, and go through the humiliation of having to say it. And part of it is just being able to continue services for them wherever it is that they're going.
And, you know, and that's really important. I mean, one thing that I love doing is working with, you know, other partnerships through the community, is knowing that, you know, you're actually fulfilling a real need, and it's not just some makeup, you know, because there are, you know, we do live at a time where a lot of people like to scam, and, you know, it's the system and things like that. So that helps to know that somebody is truly in need too. You know, that it just, because, you know, being a pastor too, there's a lot of people like to, you know, they like to scam churches sometimes. So,
no, and that's part of the vetting process, you know,
exactly,
it's such a sticky situation. I mean, and it's not unlike, you know, your adult child coming home and wanting to live with you when they actually need to be out getting a job and doing their stuff and going and getting on with their life. And so so as a parent, you're in this spot of loving them and not wanting to withhold things from them, but at the same time, you're wanting to create enough of incentive for them to launch and get on with life, you know?
Right. And well, in time and resources, you actually want it to go to someone that needs help.
Right.
Not just someone that's, you know, you know, just trying to be a scam artist, you know, or something, but
So, no, what I don't miss being in that position, you know.
Yeah.
So, all right. So here's a curveball for you.
Okay.
So because there's this conversation that is happening because believers, Christians, the very heart of them is compassion. And taking care of the widows and taking care of, those are scripturally.
That's what Christ did, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so, you know, but on the same hand, there's this, you know, and I understand there's this other side of like, well, you need to take care of yourself, you need to earn your way, you need to be responsible for the mistakes you've made, and so on and so forth. And those types of things are pitted against each other, and politically right now.
Right, absolutely.
Politically, that is, politically you have people on the left that, when you look at some of the things that have happened, it's actually compassion gone wrong. I mean,
Right.
their motive is to take care of the needs of the poor without any boundaries, and so then that's why you have people camping on the streets of downtown Portland and so on and so forth. So they're compassionate, and then you have on the other side you have the right that some of those people are believers.
Go get a job, right?
Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't know. Do you see that?
Oh,
dilemma?
absolutely.
I mean,
Both sides. Yeah, absolutely. And how and of course, what I do and everything that, I personally believe is follow exactly what Christ teaches and what he does. And, it's like for me, I don't believe we should hand out money. To people in need. I mean, I've never seen anywhere in Scripture where Jesus actually handed money to the poor.
Yeah.
He says if they're hungry, you feed them.
Yeah.
If they need a shirt, you give them a shirt off your back. So
Right.
so it's those. It's my focus is to focus on the need at hand of what the person's going through, what they need, and so the compassion part I'm thinking of both sides is. Are you truly helping somebody out of your own heart, or are you helping them for your own selfish desires? So
explore that a little bit.
Well, I think you see people that want to help somebody or feel because they want to fulfill their own, self-gratitude or maybe their own political agenda.
Yeah.
But when you do it in a sense where none of that matters, it's I think you truly show what the heart of compassion of who Christ truly is. You know? Not just of trying to fulfill something else or
right.
So yeah.
Well, and do you find your place? I mean, I think if I were pastoring today, I would be in this place of you're encouraging good believer, Bible believing people.
Absolutely.
To be compassionate, which is a weird thing to do. I mean, so in other words, they've and I don't know about your congregation, but I mean, there's a pretty good part of the believers that have kind of pulled back and they're like, get a job. I mean, that's kind of their position. Get a job and go take care of yourself. And there are times they have to be encouraged to be like, well, that's not what Jesus said. Jesus didn't say go get a job. He, I mean, what he often did was he rescued and then he said go and sin no more.
Yeah.
And
I think, I think when, God gets a hold of somebody's life that, there's a transformation process that happens. Of course, we know that, we're transformed.
Yeah.
And through that, there's, God does something where, of course, they start getting in the Word and they start looking at the biblical principle of God's Word that you see people start to prosper again, where they can help themselves, where they can explore, the whole of, hey, I need to get a job and take care of my family, different things like that. So it's the whole, it isn't just coming to the point of, you just don't judge someone based on where they're at in life.
That's exactly
you
right.
love on them as Christ loved them.
Right.
And as Christ loved that person, they're totally transformed.
Yeah.
And that's the whole idea is what, that I believe that, as a church and of course as a pastor, but, we, even as with Neighbors Together, that's what we do.
Yeah. Well, and it is, I mean, you hope they're transformed. Yeah. But it's really, you're loving without strings.
Exactly.
You're just, you're hoping that something will change in their life.
Yep.
So.
And you set the example of that.
Right.
There's been plenty of people that we've helped in need that, look like, oh, well, I want to help serve. So we give them opportunity to serve.
Yeah.
And so that brings, that helps them to gain confidence and things that just not be someone in need all the time, but they're actually helping to serve others. Yeah. So that's the whole idea about it.
So before I was here, I was a youth pastor, a youth and music guy in Seattle.
Yeah.
And we lived right in the University District, right, just right in downtown Seattle. And there was this guy we lived just right next door to the church, and so we were just in that environment all the time.
Yeah.
And there was a guy who had come over to the church. His name was Wayne, and he was homeless, but that was part of his choice, was to be on the street.
Yeah.
Which is another story. But anyhow, Wayne would come by the office, and he would want to. Well, Wayne, can I buy you a hamburger? Or he'd say, I'm hungry. Like, well, can I buy you a hamburger?
Absolutely.
Well, we'd walk a half a block to the burger shop, and it was funny because the Dick's Hamburgers on 45th Street. I don't know if you've been there. They don't serve burgers in a particular fashion. You get it how it is. That's
Right.
yeah. There's no customizing the burger. And he'd say, "Oh, I don't want that." And it's like, sorry, Wayne, that's just how it comes.
Right.
So anyhow, so we get a burger. Well, then, so one night I was over at the church and getting ready to go home, and it's cold. It's probably 35 degrees, not quite freezing, but almost cold for Seattle. It was wet, and he's laying right outside the doors of the church. On had a newspaper down, and he's got himself covered up with a newspaper. So
Right.
I went and got some blankets and, went out there, and Wayne, get up, I got to put, and so I made a little mattress for him out of blankets and laid down and put him down. And it was so funny. As I'm covering him up with this blanket, it was a wool blanket. He's like, oh, I don't want wool. I don't want wool. So it was like,
Just like the burger,
Yeah,
huh?
you're going to freeze to death, and you're complaining,
about a blanket.
And so it was funny. So I pulled the wool blanket off, put another blanket on top of him, and then put the wool blanket on top,
Yeah.
But yeah, it is, and I mean, I was there for 6 years, and over a course of 6 years, I intersected with Wayne's life and tried to help him get into housing and so on and so forth. But that, I mean, it taught me a lot about that. Part of that was his choice.
Right.
And part of it is that part of what I realized about Wayne is that as long as he's on the street like that, nobody could tell him what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, at the very core of what was going on in his life was he didn't want to be told what to do.
Right.
And if he was living in a bush somewhere, people had no control over his life.
Yeah.
So anyhow.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
No, I don't think everybody. I mean, this is a different time than what it was then.
Right.
But no, what a spot that.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of things that you're dealing with when it
Yeah.
comes to people in need. Of
Yeah.
course, we have the mental. There's a lot of mental illness taking
Yeah.
place, and there's addiction you're dealing with, and there's just life circumstances. And of course, that doesn't help with some of the mental challenges, things, and too of all. So, but everybody just needs an encouragement. You do the best you can,
Right.
without judgment.
Yeah.
Of course, but yeah, I mean, through our food bank, some of the, of course, through Neighbors Together, we serve a lot more families than we see people that are homeless, though. So different, so it's a little different. There, of course, we are serving some that are homeless, but majority of them are people that do actually have everyday jobs, and
Right.
or just or in transition between another job, or just moved here, and kind of trying to get a job, and so there's so it's the best we can to fulfill if it's someone that has a family and needs food, let's get them food, and so we do deliver food boxes at the end of the month to a lot of our retirement homes too, with some of our elderly, so too as well, but yeah.
Well, good. So if somebody wants to donate, they want to be a part of helping this situation.
Yeah.
Where do they go? They go to their website.
The website, Neighbors Together of Union County. I think you guys will probably put that on there, and or they can call the Neighbors Together phone number, or we've had people just within, if they're a congregational member of another church, they just talk to their pastor, and we've had churches, people give through their church, that way too. So,
So the link is in our is in the comments of Facebook. And Benny, show us that video. Here's a video of how people can actually get to the church, because there's a couple of different directions how to get there.
Just find Walmart.
Just find Walmart, yeah. So this one is going through, this direction is going through the Walmart parking lot and then around to the back where the food bank is.
Into the gym.
And then this one is coming down Walton Road and finding your way back there. And then this way is
Man, I
coming
wish
the
I
other
could drive
direction.
that fast.
Yeah.
But please only go 10 miles an hour
Yeah,
through the church
yeah,
parking
yeah.
lot. Don't drive that fast.
Don't drive it, yeah.
Yeah, I don't need liability issues.
That's right. Well, cool. And yeah, no, thank you for what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And thank you
Yeah.
for, thanks for Neighbors Together. And I think that there's a place for people. I mean, I would imagine that Neighbors Together is, although it's, supported by churches and stuff, even if people are not church people,
Right.
they can volunteer, right?
Yeah, we have that quite often, yeah.
Yeah, and so there's a place for people to serve,
Yep.
regardless of their persuasion.
Yeah, we've had, even through EOU, some of the
Yeah.
different clubs that
Yeah.
the college has, and Grand Ron Hospital, they sent a team of nurses one time down
Yeah.
to volunteer. So yeah, sports, football, the LeGrand, the high school, and
Yeah,
in fact, Grand Ron Academy, our private Christian school, and one of our private Christian schools in the area, they send a team of kids down every Tuesday.
Wow.
And they serve.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
So
Yeah,
so love, and of course people with community service, probation, they'll call it.
yeah,
People that need community service,
Yeah.
service hours. So yeah, it just isn't people in churches. So
I tell you, one of the most, when I was part of it when I was a college, and then when I was a youth pastor, I would take the teen group, and this is when we were in Seattle. It was a lot easier, and you go to serve in a mission.
Yeah.
Or when I was in college, we went and served in a mission in San Francisco, and it is, it is just it's a wake up experience, and part of it is. I don't know. There's just all kinds of things that you understand. One is the needs of people are like super basic. Sometimes they just need a smile. They just
Yeah.
need a, they just. Even being
Absolutely.
kind to them is
it is encouragement.
yeah, is a
Exactly.
huge encourage,ment to them,
Yep.
right? But the other thing is that I went through a period of my life where, and somebody, when I had served in missions or been a part of missions and talked to the leadership of those things, and they would help me understand that, or they would try to help me understand that a lot of people are just one paycheck away from being homeless, and you think, oh, that could never happen to me,
Yeah.
And and there was a period of time where I spent 2 weeks in just the most awful hotel here in LeGrand, and I became really clear. It's like, yeah, this is how people become so close to being homeless. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not comparing my situation or my life to what's happening in a lot of people's lives, but
Yeah.
it's just the fact is that we're compassionate, and there's something that is awesome when we're able to reach out and help.
Yeah.
But that's all of us. We don't know it, but
Right.
we're
Absolutely.
just
Yeah.
all right there.
Yeah, because life throws curveballs.
Yes, it does.
Right? So-
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
and I think we all need to be there for each other and encourage one another, and like you said, that smile.
Yeah.
I call it the joy of the Lord.
Right.
But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And what does it cost? What does it cost us personally to be kind and nice and smile and gentle and compassionate?
Right.
Nothing. Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't cost anything. So.
Nope. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks,
Yeah,
Jerad.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and you all be sure and check out the Neighbors Together website. that URL is in the comments here, and you have an opportunity where you can. I know they have a donate button there, and so you can donate, and what you give is tax deductible.
Yep.
Goes to the 501c3. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, Jerad, for being here, and hey, and thank you, Eastern Oregon, for being here. Appreciate you being here, and we'll be right back here this coming Thursday, and hopefully Kyle will be with me then. So, hey, have a good day.